Welcome, deep divers. Today, we're embarking on a pretty unique deep dive. We're looking into the world of future analysis, specifically how Clif High sees it on his Sci-fi World YouTube channel.
Right.
Our mission, really, is to explore his concept of the event stream. It's quite distinct. And his unconventional process for interpreting data. Plus, some of his forecasts, which are surprising, and they keep evolving.
That's a good way to put it. This isn't your standard prediction fair. It's more about understanding a very complex, speculative way of looking at the future.
Exactly.
So the goal for you listening is to get a clear, structured way to grasp Clif High's methods, you know, and how his interpretations shift. It's a shortcut to some, I think, really important insights he offers.
Absolutely. And we'll touch on things like secrets revealed.
Yeah.
There's even a strange Smithsonian connection he talks about now.
Yeah.
Then there's the emergence of new money, this whole ongoing saga of $600 silver and the rise of what he calls new electrics.
Lots to unpack.
Think of this as your guide through this, landscape of evolving forecasts. We want you to come away really informed about this unique perspective.
And by framing these, often intricate and shifting bits of information, we hope you can connect the dots, make it informative, but also thought-provoking, give you a fresh lens, maybe.
Okay, so let's dive in. The absolute core, the foundation of Clif High's work is this thing he calls the event stream. He describes it, pretty emphatically, as a giant, huge engine of change, a change state of everything constantly.
Right, so not static, not something just waiting there. It's dynamic, always moving.
Yeah.
And what's really key here, I think, is how he deliberately sets his method apart from what he calls conventional prophecy.
How so?
Well, he critiques people like Bo Polney or Kim Clement. He argues their forecasts are often flawed because you've got individual human minds involved with all their personal projections, their biases,
Right, the human element messing things up.
Exactly. He even puts numbers on it. Says Bo Polney's accuracy is maybe 1 out of 27, and Kim Clement's, he thinks, is even worse.
Wow, okay. That's quite a critique. He also mentions something about the rule of assumption or law of attraction.
Yeah, he touches on that. The idea that our consciousness might actually influence this event stream, help bring about desired outcomes.
So is he saying we can steer this massive thing? Or is it more just aligning with what's already kind of emerging?
It seems more like the latter. Which leads to the big question, right? If individual minds project, how does this system stay objective?
Good point.
Well, his process, which he started way back in 1993, tries to get around that. It minimizes individual projection, or that's the claim.
How does it do that?
His method aggregates leaks of language from the internet, specifically the collective language, from what he calls masses of normies, regular people, society at large.
Okay, so it's tapping into the collective consciousness linguistically.
Sort of, yeah. And how he interprets that data is crucial. He uses set theoretic mathematics and terms he defines himself, like presentient words.
Okay, hang on. Set theoretic mathematics and presentient words. Can you break those down a bit? Sounds pretty complex.
It does, yeah. But think of set theoretic mathematics less like algebra and more like identifying patterns, grouping clusters of words, finding relationships between them linguistically.
Okay.
And presentient words, in his view, are these sort of elemental terms. They carry a predictive energy signature before events actually happen, before we're consciously aware. It's not about the dictionary meaning, but their raw signal from the collective.
So the system picks up on these signals.
Right. The key distinction he makes is that this mass aggregation done by a computer system gives a more objective image, as he puts it, of what's out there in the event stream. It takes his own mind, his own projections, out of the direct interpretation loop as much as possible.
That makes more sense, like a linguistic radar picking up faint signals.
Yeah, that's a decent analogy.
But if this event stream is so fluid, constantly changing, how does he even approach timing? How do you time something like that?
Good question. For timing, he uses something he calls temporal markers, or TMs.
TMs, okay.
Think of them like clusters of related keywords or concepts. If one item in that set pops up in the data, the likelihood of the other items in that same set appearing goes up. It helps indicate timing, but without strict calendar dates.
Right, and he's very clear, isn't he? It's not chiseled in stone. It's not prophecy.
He says the event stream doesn't give a shit about our calendars because, in his view, time is a construction in our brain. We're living in an eternal now.
That eternal now idea, It really messes with how we usually think about time and predictions. It makes you wonder how you'd even try to assign a time frame.
Precisely. And it ties right into his core belief that the event stream is fundamentally designed to create novelty.
Novelty, meaning new, unexpected things.
Exactly. Which means the future, fundamentally, cannot be predicted with perfect accuracy. It explains why detailed forecasts almost never match up perfectly. The universe, as Clif sees it, kind of screws you up the closer you get to being right, just to keep things novel.
So the universe is deliberately playing tricks on predictors. Like, nice try, but I'm going to tweak this. That's a fascinating, almost mischievous view of reality.
It really is. It shifts the whole game, doesn't it? It's not about nailing the exact details anymore. It's about understanding the flow, the constant evolution, preparing for dynamic shifts, not fixed outcomes.
Okay, so we've got the mechanics, the sort of theory behind it. Now let's get into some of the actual forecasts and how they've played out or shifted.
Right.
Let's start with the big one. The secrets revealed phenomenon. This goes way back, 2003 originally, linked to Maryland, Delaware, Fort Detrick, Fort Lee. A huge flood of secrets revealed.
Yeah, that was the early read. His current take is that it's more of a broad label, covering a long period of time. He thinks it's been manifesting since around, say, 2009.
In what ways?
Well, think about all the conspiracy theories becoming more mainstream. The rise of crypto, which was secret in its own way at first, and even what he calls actual conspiracies, like those against Trump he claims were revealed.
Okay, so it's a general theme playing out over years, but then he connects it to Trump's recent actions.
Yeah.
The Smithsonian. That seems like a very specific link.
It does. He points to Trump clamping down in D.C., telling the Smithsonian about a potential takeover, taking control of tunnels. He describes the Smithsonian, in his view, as this place that steals the heritage of the American people and hides it underground.
Wow. Strong words.
Very. The forecast suggests information will be liberated from there, but he also adds a caveat.
Which is?
That fully integrating this liberated information into public understanding, that could take 50 to 80 years.
50 to 80 years. So what for us now is?
Yeah.
We might see things revealed, but understanding the true impact is a much, much longer game.
That seems to be the idea. It highlights that gap,
Yeah.
between something being discovered or revealed and society actually accepting it, rewriting the history books. It's a generational thing.
Okay, so from secrets hidden underground, let's shift to another early forecast from 2003. New money.
Ah, yes. New money. The manifestation there seems pretty clear, doesn't it?
Cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely. They really popped off, as he says, around 2009, Bitcoin white paper released. It fits that prediction of a fundamental shift in how we even think about value and exchange.
Yeah, that one seems like a fairly direct hit for the forecast.
Yeah.
But then there's one that's seen a major reinterpretation, the $600 silver idea.
Right. This one's had quite a journey. Originally, pre-2003 data linked it to, well, pretty dark stuff. Societal breakdown, riots, initially maybe food riots, supply chains collapsing, the collapse of the currency, and he specified the Federal Reserve note, not the U.S. dollar itself. Basically, a dystopian future where you'd be trading silver coins for, like, milk.
Grim.
Very. But this is where his perspective shifts dramatically.
Yeah.
He now believes his data was deliberately polluted, starting way back in 1937, but actively polluted since around 2015.
Polluted. By who?
By what he calls an Elohim worship cult. He claims this group was trying to engineer that dystopian vision, spreading it through various channels, influencing the data he was reading to push that narrative.
An Elohim worship cult polluting data streams to cause a dystopia. That's quite a claim.
It is indeed. It fundamentally changes his outlook.
So the revised scenario now, what is it?
He believes those dystopian elements, the riots, the collapses, they're basically in our past now or behind us. He doesn't see that specific kind of dystopian future happening anymore.
But what about the $600 silver? If the dystopia isn't happening, how does silver get to that price?
Good question. He argues it could still happen, just not through collapse. His new rationale connects it to the new electrics.
Which we'll get to next.
Yeah, exactly. These new technologies are heavily dependent on silver. So he speculates governments might end up buying investment-grade silver, maybe initially at low prices, but if they get desperate, they could even impose legislative penalties to owning it.
Forcing people to sell or discouraging hoarding.
Something like that. It's a way, he argues, to reach that $600 silver price point without the engineered dystopia his data originally showed.
Okay, and what about the timing on this? Is this imminent?
No, he thinks this is years away. It depends on building out the infrastructure for these new electrics, using up the easier-to-get above-ground silver first. Then they might target investment silver.
So not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. He even mentions, interestingly, Heidi's astrological prediction. She apparently pinpointed 2041 for $600 silver. So that's an external data point, he notes.
2041.
Okay.
That definitely puts it further out. Which leads us perfectly into these new electrics. What are they and how do they tie into all this?
Well, as we just said, they're very dependent on silver, but they're also tied to military and space applications. Think DoD, space programs, weapons, drones, maybe even UFO tech.
Okay, high-tech stuff. Any specific examples?
He gives some really intriguing ones, like perpetual phones. Phones that will never need to be recharged.
Never.
That's the claim. Phones that can handle extreme heat, like 500 degrees, with tiny batteries, which means devices could be smaller or packed with more features. It all points to what he calls a new understanding of electricity, like a fundamental breakthrough.
Wow, a phone you never charge?
Yeah.
That would change everything, our whole relationship with devices.
Completely. And it all loops back, doesn't it? Back to this core idea about the impermanence of forecasts, the reality constantly shifting.
Yeah, he stresses that the event stream is constant change. So details from past forecasts might not be relevant anymore.
Right. Like he mentioned Litecoin's early 5.1 ratio with Bitcoin or Veritasium needing patents. He says those details might not be pertinent now, or maybe they've been superseded by prior art. Things evolve.
And even if something does manifest, it might not look like the initial interpretation.
Exactly. He brings up Reggie Middleton and the SEC. The prediction was the government would come talk to Reggie. They did, but he says it was not in a good way, implying his initial read on how it would happen might have been off.
It's like trying to predict the exact shape of a cloud.
Yeah,
it's moving, but the form is always changing.
That's a great way to put it. And he explains this distortion, this difficulty, with another idea. He says, our old world is collapsing, while simultaneously a new world is rising.
Okay.
And we're standing on the collapsing platform, trying to observe the new one rising. This creates, in his words, a necessary distortion in our view.
So what we think we see coming
will not look like what we had foreseen when it actually arrives.
Yeah.
Because our vantage point itself is unstable, skewed by the collapse of the old reality.
How does that affect our ability to even make sense of what's happening right now?
It suggests that what feels chaotic, maybe even nonsensical at times, could just be the friction between these two realities, the old fading, the new emerging. Our perception is inevitably distorted.
Which means the future remains
amorphous, unresolved, and expectant. He really emphasizes that unresolved nature. It's meant to be that way because, again, novelty is the goal. It's not supposed to be a fixed blueprint we can just read off.
A future of constant, unpredictable innovation and change. Okay, so before we wrap up, any current projections, anything specific his system is pointing to now?
Well, he's mentioned forecasting a very, very, very eventful August for 2025.
This coming August.
2025, yeah. And then giant masses of more change predicted for September and October 2025 as well.
Yep.
So it sounds like his data is pointing towards a period of significantly intensified change coming up next year.
Okay, something to keep an eye on. So wrapping this all up, what's the main takeaway for you, our listener? Clif High's approach suggests the future isn't some fixed thing we can predict perfectly.
Not at all. It's dynamic. It's an ever-changing landscape. Interpretation is crucial, and novelty, newness is always emerging.
Yeah.
And really understanding this event stream idea, it's inherent unpredictability.
Yeah.
It can really shift how you look at information, how you manage expectations about what's coming next. It pushes you towards adaptability rather than trying to have rigid foresight.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. If the universe is truly designed for novelty, if predictions are never really chiseled in stone, how does that change your approach? How do you anticipate what's next, personally or even globally?
Something to definitely consider as you navigate your own event stream.